I'm deeply influenced by the Japanese philosophy of mono no aware, means the awareness of impermanence, a kind of gentle melancholy or sadness toward the passing of things. You can see this in many of my works. I'm Shoko Kumura. I'm an artist specialized in Japanese traditional painting, based in Milan, Italy, and Tokyo, Japan. I studied Japanese traditional painting at the Tokyo University of the Arts, and then right after my graduation in 2008, I moved to Italy to study restoration of fresco paintings, which are located on the walls or ceilings of churches. I could gain lots of different experiences retouching and making antique colors for fresco paintings for several years, and then I started making my own artworks there. Since I was a teenager, I was always very fascinated about the history of art and fresco paintings in particular. I studied these at both high school and university, and I learned that many of the most important historical fresco paintings are located in Italy. When I was in my second year of university, I had a chance to make one piece of fresco painting. I made a reproduction of a work by Michelangelo of Cappella della Sistina. Then I discovered some similarities with traditional Japanese paintings and techniques. Afterwards, my curiosity increased, and I decided to study fresco restoration there. I was thankfully awarded a prestigious scholarship from the Japanese government that allowed me to do this. My studies in fresco painting influenced my work in many ways, but especially in how I use materials. Both fresco and Japanese painting rely on natural pigments made from minerals, shells, roots, and sands that you prepare each color by hand at a moment like Renaissance period. It takes time, but it gives a very special opacity and texture. After many experiments, I started using both Japanese and Italian pigments, working on metallic backgrounds like gold and silver leaf, which are traditional backgrounds that are used for foldable Japanese screens and Western religious icons. This became my unique technique. First, I mount Japanese paper onto a wooden panel. Then I cover it with gold or silver foil. On top of that, I paint with pigments, but I slightly leave parts of the metallic shiny background visible. This way, the full painting reflects light, and the appearance changes depending on the angle you see it from. That interplay of pigments and light has become a very unique feature of my work. Something I could only develop thanks to my experiences with both fresco and Japanese painting. The main inspiration comes from the Japanese belief that divinity exists in nature. In Japan, trees, waterfalls, rocks, even mountains can be sacred. When I visit shrines, the moment I pass through a tree gate, I can tell the atmosphere changes. I feel like I'm entering another world. Inside, the trees are considered as sacred elements and are almost never cut. So shrines often feel like small forests. Sometimes I feel surrounded by spirits there. That experience of nature as divine and the deep respect for it is something I try to bring into my work. For example, I often use gold leaf as a background, and on it I paint trees that I've captured when visiting shrines, looking up into the sky. Gold is usually a symbol of wealth, but to me it also represents impermanence. Because wealth never lasts forever, like clouds that are constantly moving and changing. Our lives also transform. Through experiences, even difficult ones, our souls become enriched, and this change is what makes us who we are. I also paint contrails in the sky or the clouds of dusk. Contrails appears suddenly and disappears just as quickly, and the beauty of the dusk sky is also fleeting. These moments remind us of how short and precious life can be. I felt this philosophy most strongly when I went through a serious illness a few years ago. That's when I started my Nightfall series, paintings of forest at night reflected on water. They express the boundary between this world and the next. At first, they seem like two separate worlds, but actually they are connected. We are always approaching the next. In these paintings, the landscapes feel as if they glimpse the human world from within a dark, spiritual forest, existing in the space between the two realms. But within the darkness, there are always small lights of human life instead of fear. These lights bring comfort and hope, guiding us forward and illuminating the path ahead. In the past few years, I started a series dedicated to trees, like tree portraits, and another series called Tobusatate, which I worked on wood pieces. Since my work has always been about respect for nature, I felt especially inspired by forests and trees, and I wanted to give something back to them. So when someone purchases a piece from this series, part of the cost goes to planting trees. At my last exhibitions, I even used little tree stickers to show how many trees would be planted through each work. Thanks to this project, more than 75 trees have already been planted around the world. My dream is to continue this and eventually create an actual forest through my art. The idea came to me after my experience with illness, when I began to think about what can remain in the world after I'm gone, beyond my artworks. Hopefully, through my art, I can not only share beauty, but also leave something living and lasting for future generation. Thank you.